Haunting of Hill House is a new show based on a 1950s novel by Shirley Jackson, and it's about a family, the Crane family, and it's about about their childhood and how these kids grew up in this house that was not okay. And there's an event that 30 years later, the kids are all grown up now, that brings them back together and basically forces them to go back to the house and face their past.
I mean, it's really the story of a family that moves into a house, and there are 5 children, and they experience a huge amount of trauma as children, and it goes back and forth in time into the present, where we play the adult versions of these children, and we're sort of trying to figure out how to move forward in life, and
trying to sort of come to terms with what happened, and sort of trying to be rational about it, because we are dealing with something that is probably seen as crazy, and so it's a very kind of interesting show in the fact that it's dealing with all of these themes of loss and grief and trauma and you know, and post-traumatic stress, but also is also playing with the idea of, is it all in their minds? Is it actually mental illness? Is it? And so it's grounding the show in a kind of form of reality.
I think that is one of the brilliant things about Mike Flanagan, is that he is able to anchor something like that in a solid piece of literature, and yet turn it on its head and extrapolate it and turn it to a family story within a horror story. And the house is just another character in the mix. So it's really interesting to me.
It really wants to be both. It's a horror series. There will be a lot of very scary moments, but we'll experience those things through the lens of a family drama. And I mean, I hope that will add to that, you know, once you start to care for these characters, and once you start to understand what their, you know, their fears are and where their traumas come from, that the horror will hit you even harder.
I mean, that's kind of a great, that's kind of what we all wanted.
That's what we sort of fell in love with. I mean, I think that's what's so compelling about it, is that the characters feel so real. And the idea of a family trying to sort of rebuild their lives, and how hard that can be.
Yes, I think it's it deals with psychological terror that's very relatable, because it's mostly experienced through a family bond.
For me as an actor, it's so nice to be part of a project where that is sort of told in these parallel storylines, because the audience will start to understand our characters so well, because they constantly get to see what happened 30 years ago, right? But as far as Paxton, the young actor that plays my younger self, who, by the way, looked more like me than I looked like myself when I was his age. He was very well cast, I thought. But so, yeah, we had moments of talking about, like, certain scenes or certain ways that our character would say something. Or, for example, when I hug my brother, Luke, he also has moments where he hugs his little brother, Luke, and then we talk about, like, how would we do that, and we do it like this, and we say that, and it's very subtle. Most of the audience will probably not pick up on that, but
I mean, I know that you did. The one that plays young Luke, he's 5, and it was his first job, and so there was a part of it that didn't necessarily feel appropriate to speak to him about certain things, and we made sure that when adult Luke, because he's struggling quite a lot in his adult life with addiction, we sort of made sure that he wasn't sort of, he didn't see any of that.
Okay.
But he was great. It was his first job. He was kind of dynamite and just
Yeah,
the
he's
cutest. Yeah.
heartbreaking.
But I know that you guys sat down and had a big chat.
Well,
you and-
Lulu Wilson, who plays the younger version of Shirley, she played my daughter in a movie called Ouija, Origin of Evil. So we had already had a very strong connection, and she's a wonderful actress. I mean, she's just intuitive and so smart, and just a fascinating actress to watch. So it was fun to see her do it and see what she brought to it.
I adored working with McKenna. We had a journal that we sent back and forth. She and I work very similarly. She's a tremendous actress who I learned a lot from just watching. But we used to love to talk about Theo and what she went through, because in telling the story of so many people, the two of us needed to spend time and fill out kind of the holes when you're not with Theo to find out what happened to her.
Well, for me, it was more important to kind of build relationships with the child actors who were playing the younger versions of my children. It was important to set that relationship up. I wanted Hugh to always appear to be a good and concerned and actively participating father, because it just, as the show progresses and you see the older version of my character, it really sets up that relationship with the siblings a lot better.
I've seen the first 6 episodes, and I can't wait to finish watching it. Yeah, there were a couple of moments that I was scared. I think one of the moments that comes to mind is when my youngest brother, Luke, in the young version, gets into the dumbwaiter and this little elevator and presses the button to go up, and the elevator goes down, and he ends up in a basement that nobody knew existed. That is a very scary scene.
Yeah. There's this one moment. I think that the overall creepy aspect and the ominous feel of the show and how it's actually quite disturbing. The main kind of thing I think is terrifying is the actual family itself and how disturbed they are and how their lives are kind of uprooted by this thing. But there is one particular moment where I did, I screamed. I knew it was coming as well, but I screamed. So, and I did it twice. I screamed twice.
I just could watch episode 6 over and over and over again. I think it is an incredible achievement on behalf of our crew who worked tirelessly.
Yeah, I agree. Episode 6 was my favorite. I think it was the favorite of the whole crew, but we all worked together and rehearsed it like a play and shot it in 2 days, basically.
Yeah. There's so many magical moments that happened where things just had to fall into place, and they did, and it felt like you were part of magical storytelling.